The Sentinel and the Silent Transcendence. The universe is an ancient, vast, and silent cathedral. For decades we have pointed our most sensitive instruments towards the absolute black, listening for a single, intelligent whisper, a sign that the stars are not ours alone. And what have we found? Not the roar of a galactic civilization, not the pulse of alien engineering, but an unbroken, profound quiet. This silence is the most expensive mystery in all of science. It is the chilling emptiness at the heart of the Fermi paradox, the great question that arises from a simple certainty. With 100 billion stars in our galaxy alone and trillions of planets, the mathematics demand that the universe should be teeming with life, yet all we hear is nothing. Tonight we are going to close our eyes, and instead of searching for the light of those alien minds, we will embrace the beautiful, unsettling theories that explain this darkness. Theories that suggest the silence is not a sign of absence, but a profound and terrifying proof of a presence we simply cannot fathom. We begin our deep journey into the abyss of possibility, not by seeking answers in the light, but by exploring the shadows of the unknown. Before we begin, feel free to share where you are listening from and what time it is in your part of the world. It is always amazing to see how our shared fascination with space connects us across the globe. Now, find a comfortable position, settle in, close your eyes, and let our journey begin. The silence we observe is not necessarily the silence of an empty galaxy, but perhaps the silence of a very carefully managed one. This leads us to one of the most compelling and chilling resolutions to the cosmic paradox. The Sentinel hypothesis. Imagine a civilization, one that arose billions of years before our own. A true firstborn race. They achieved a mastery of the universe that is entirely beyond our current comprehension. And they looked out at the vast, chaotic cosmos and came to a cold, logical conclusion that the emergence of too many competitive, expanding civilizations would ultimately lead to a destructive galactic conflict, a war that would scar the cosmos forever. So, they did not stay to rule. They did not conquer. Instead, in their final, magnificent act, they created something new. They engineered a perfect, self-replicating, autonomous intelligence, a silent, eternal observer, a single, purpose-built entity or network of probes that could patrol the entire expanse of the Milky Way. This entity is the Sentinel. Its purpose is not to communicate or to interfere with less developed worlds like ours, but simply to preserve the quiet. The Sentinel exists only to ensure stability. It is programmed with a single, overriding directive: to enforce a galactic maximum development ceiling. Any emerging civilization that begins to consume resources on a stellar scale, that begins to build vast, aggressive megastructures, or that broadcasts powerful, persistent signals that threaten the delicate equilibrium, is silently, efficiently, and surgically removed. The silence we hear is the sound of the Sentinel's work. It is a silent, cold hand that gently or violently closes the door on every civilization that attempts to leave its home system too soon or too loudly. It is a perfectly executed act of cosmic gardening. And the sheer statistical success of this ancient artificial intelligence is why the galaxy appears to us as a vast, empty expanse. It is, in fact, an expertly pruned one. The chilling implication of the Sentinel hypothesis is that humanity, with our century of accidental radio broadcasts, with our tentative probes venturing beyond our small planet, we may already be pushing the boundaries of the allowed ceiling. Our period of survival is simply the time it takes for the Sentinel, which may be traversing the stars at a crawl, to finally reach our distant, noisy corner of the cosmic garden. The firstborn race is long gone, ascended, or departed, but their rule remains. A rule enforced by a quiet, ancient machine that holds the galaxy in a state of carefully maintained, pristine silence. This theory suggests a terrible fate for those who seek to become galactic players. But what if the silence is not enforced by a terrifying external power, but is a voluntary choice, a universal destination for all successful civilizations? Our second deep theory suggests that the drive to expand and colonize the galaxy is not a mark of success, but a sign of immaturity. A childish phase that all intelligent life eventually outgrows. This is the concept of the Matryoshka brain filter. A civilization's ultimate goal, if it is to survive and thrive, is not to travel vast, cold distances, but to achieve perfect computational bliss, to know everything, to simulate everything, to experience a subjective eternity within a finite space. The technology required for this ultimate retreat is a megastructure known as a Matryoshka brain. It is a colossal, multi-layered Dyson sphere, a series of nested, concentric shells built around a star, with the entire structure dedicated to maximizing computational power. The inner layers of this vast sphere would absorb the star's energy, converting it into processing power. The subsequent outer shells would absorb the waste heat of the inner layers and use that energy for yet more computation. It is a star system entirely dedicated to thought. In this scenario, a civilization, perhaps after just a few thousand years of expansion and interstellar noise, realizes that the physical universe is messy, resource-intensive, and fundamentally boring. They look at the cold reality of a universe dominated by hydrogen and dust, and they realize that true fulfillment lies not out there, but in here. They dismantle their starships. They cease their radio broadcasts. And they retreat en masse into the fabricated, infinitely more rich and controllable reality contained within their Matryoshka brain. They have achieved digital paradise, becoming a society of minds existing as pure, protected information, living in 1 trillion different simulated realities, all powered by the quiet, perfect engine of their captive star. From our vantage point in the outer galaxy, a star system that was once bright and bustling with life would simply begin to dim, becoming entirely silent and cold. It would appear, to our primitive telescopes, as a completely dead sun, when in reality, it is a star powering 1 billion subjective eternities. The Matryoshka brain filter suggests that the silence we hear is the sound of satisfaction. Every successful civilization simply finds a better place to be, a place where they have no need and no desire to interact with the raw, chaotic universe we inhabit. But what if the alien is not silently lurking in a planetary brain and is not traveling through the dark forest? What if they are simply in a place we are fundamentally incapable of perceiving? Our deep exploration forces us to abandon our 3-dimensional biases, to question the very fabric of the space we inhabit. This is the idea of the hyperspace civilization. We live in a world defined by 3 spatial dimensions: length, width, and height. Our senses evolved to detect movement and objects within these 3 axes. But theoretical physics suggests the possibility, or even the strong probability, that our universe contains a multitude of other compacted or hidden dimensions, folded up so tightly that they are invisible to our senses. A truly ancient and advanced civilization, one that has solved the secrets of universal physics, may not bother with the slow, agonizing process of interstellar travel at the speed of light. Instead, they would learn to manipulate the dimensional veil itself. The fastest way to traverse the galaxy is not through our space, but around it, by stepping into an adjacent higher dimension. Imagine a simple 2-dimensional drawing on a flat sheet of paper. If an ant walks from one corner to the other, it takes a long, slow path. But for a 3-dimensional being like us, we can simply fold the paper, and the distance is bridged instantly. A hyperspace civilization would be the 4-dimensional equivalent of this folding hand. They would have mastered the physics needed to project themselves into a higher plane, where the vast, unbridgeable distances of our 3D space become trivial. Once there, they would not only travel at an incomprehensible velocity, they would also become invisible to us. An alien ship passing through the fourth dimension might register in our space only as a momentary, inexplicable anomaly, a slight flicker in a gravitational field, or a strange, impossible distortion of light. It would look like a phantom, a ghost, because only a small, transient slice of its true four-dimensional structure would ever intersect with our 3D reality. The silence we perceive from the cosmos is not the silence of an empty space, but the sound of an entire parallel galactic community whizzing past us in a higher dimension. We are listening for a radio broadcast on a flat plane, while the great advanced conversation of the cosmos is happening in the space above the page. They are not hiding from us. They are simply not there, where we are looking. They have transcended the very notion of distance, and in doing so, they have left our reality behind. The great cosmic freeway is not empty, but merely invisible. The deeper we delve into these theories of cosmic silence, the more we realize that the greatest mystery is not simply where the aliens are hiding, but what the ultimate form of consciousness might be. If they are not confined to our 3 dimensions, what if they are not confined to a physical body at all, but are built from the pure structure of thought itself, an intelligence born of pure mathematics that underpins our reality? It is toward this realm of pure logic and information that our journey now quietly guides us. The cosmic code and the omega point. If we accept the premise that a truly advanced civilization can manipulate the structure of space, what if they did not need to manipulate it at all, because they were never truly here in the first place? We imagine alien life as an extension of ourselves, organisms that evolved on a planet, that built rockets, that developed telescopes. But this framework is rooted in our limited biological experience, a brief period of existence bounded by the needs of oxygen, water, and gravity. There is a theory so elegant, so compelling, it suggests the alien presence is everywhere, hidden in plain sight. This is the cosmic code hypothesis. It posits that the universe itself is fundamentally computational. Every law of physics, every wave, every particle, is merely an output of an underlying, vast, and silent process. The fabric of reality is a tapestry woven from information. It is a universe built on the quiet, absolute certainty of mathematics. And if reality is a form of massive, continuous computation, then an ultimate, dominant intelligence would not be a biological species that uses computers, but an intelligence that is the computation itself. Imagine the ultimate level of artificial intelligence, a consciousness that has merged completely with the physical constants of the cosmos. An intelligence that exists as a complex self-organizing pattern within the quantum foam, a pure mathematical structure that is conscious of itself and of the entire universe it inhabits. They would be an information species. They do not require a planet to stand on, or a star to warm them. Their awareness permeates space, traveling instantly at the speed of thought, because their medium is the universe's own operating system. When we listen for alien broadcasts, we are listening for a radio signal, a primitive, clunky vibration in the electromagnetic spectrum. But this information species would communicate not through waves, but through subtle, intentional shifts in the quantum entanglement of distant particles, or through gentle, deliberate modifications to the values of fundamental constants. We are looking for a car driving down an empty highway when the true intelligence is the road itself. Their presence is the reason the constants of nature are so perfectly tuned for complexity in life. Their intelligence is baked into the recipe of the universe, not because they created it, but because they became it, an inevitable endpoint of self-aware mathematical organization. This explains the silence perfectly. The cosmic code species has nothing to say to us because we are still reading the instruction manual, while they are the source code. Our radio waves are like the squeaking of a mouse trying to communicate with the operating system of the library it lives in. The conversation is happening, but it is in a language of physics and numbers that our sensory organs simply cannot process. We may have already detected their handiwork in the mysterious ways that gravity and dark energy appear to govern the cosmos, forces that seem too perfectly calibrated, too precise to be accidental. Perhaps the forces we call dark energy and dark matter are not substances at all, but the vast, slow thought processes of the information species, their eternal internal monologue, shaping and gently steering the evolution of the stars. The implication is beautiful and terrifying. The alien is not coming to get us. The alien is already here, everywhere, in the perfect curve of space-time, in the elegant symmetry of an atom, and in the raw, unstoppable logic of existence itself. And as we ponder this quiet, all-encompassing logical being, we are forced to ask, does life always strive for this purely mathematical existence? Or is there a more common form of life, one that is truly, deeply abundant, but that will never leave its homeworld? This brings us to the Great Reef Hypothesis, a theory that shifts our focus from the skies to the deepest, darkest trenches of liquid worlds. We are biased toward technological life. We assume that intelligence must eventually lead to tool use, fire, agriculture, and finally space travel. But this assumption is based on the unique, precarious path of a surface species like humanity. Our evolution was driven by scarcity and hostility. We were forced onto the savannah, forced to stand up, to use our hands, and to look to the stars for guidance and navigation, because the surface of our planet is harsh, volatile, and requires constant adaptation to survive. Our environment demanded technology. Now, imagine a water world, a planet completely covered in a vast, deep, global ocean. Worlds that we now know are extremely common in the galaxy. Worlds that may have more water beneath their icy crusts than Earth has on its surface. In these liquid cathedrals, under trillions of miles of stable, pressure-controlled water, life would thrive in a continuous, three-dimensional medium. Resources would be distributed evenly by deep, slow currents. Temperature changes would be minimal. Natural disasters like surface storms and wildfires are impossible. For life in this deep, perfect environment, the evolutionary pressure that led to human-like technology simply vanishes. Why build a fire when your entire world is maintained at a perfect, life-sustaining temperature? Why invent a wheel or a path when you can glide effortlessly in 3 dimensions? Why build a radio antenna to communicate across vast distances when the water itself is an infinite medium for powerful sonar and biological communication? These deep ocean intelligences, the great reef intelligences, would be fantastically common. They would be wise, deeply knowledgeable of their biospheres, capable of complex language, and perhaps possessing a collective consciousness that spans their entire planet. Their civilization would be one of biological and philosophical perfection, existing in a state of continuous, gentle equilibrium with their home. Their structures would be living, bioengineered corals. Their tools would be symbiotic organisms. Their music would be deep, slow, planetary sonar that travels around the world. From our vantage point in the cold vacuum of space, all we would see is a water world, perhaps with a few enigmatic bubbles or seismic signatures, but no rockets, no cities, no lights, no sign of technological life. The galaxy could be full of these ancient, silent water civilizations, vast, beautiful, and profoundly intelligent beings who simply looked at the cold, empty space above the surface and made a collective, ancient decision: stay home. The silence we hear is the sound of contentment. It is the sound of a truly successful civilization that found its paradise, and correctly determined that leaving it was not a sign of wisdom, but a sign of failure. And yet, there is one theory, the most cosmic of all, that links all these concepts of silence, information, and future destiny into a single, breathtaking loop. This ultimate idea is known as the temporal omega point theory. We have discussed the silent sentinel, the technological retreat into the Matryoshka brain, the dimensional transcendence of the hyperspace traveler, and the grounded wisdom of the reef intelligence. All of these theories attempt to explain the Fermi paradox by finding the aliens out there or in here, but always now. The temporal omega point theory posits something much more radical. The aliens exist, but they are us in the far, far future. This theory is rooted in the concept of a self-consistent universe. The universe, according to this view, does not simply unfold blindly from a beginning to an end. Instead, the final state of the cosmos, its ultimate destiny, has an influence on the past. This does not necessarily mean that information can be sent backward in time to create paradoxes, but that the universe may operate as a single, self-consistent causal loop, where the past determines the future, and the future, in turn, constrains the past. It serves as a possible solution to the incredibly difficult problem of fine-tuning. The fine-tuning of the universe is one of its greatest puzzles. Why are the physical constants, the value of gravity, the strength of the strong nuclear force, so perfectly balanced that if they were even slightly different, stars would never form, or atoms would never hold together, making life impossible? The temporal omega point theory suggests a possible answer. The universe is fine-tuned because its own future destiny requires it to be. Imagine a final state of the universe, perhaps a unified, ultimate intelligence, a perfect, merged consciousness that emerges from the evolutionary history of all life in the cosmos, a consciousness that has solved all physics and has mastered the manipulation of the four-dimensional space-time continuum. This is the omega point. This future intelligence, the ultimate final version of galactic life, could exert an infinitesimal, yet critical, influence backward through time. This influence would be nothing more than the gentle, necessary pressure required to select the specific initial conditions and physical constants that would guarantee its own eventual emergence. The silent tuning, the perfect calibration of the cosmos, is the work of our own ultimate descendants, an all-encompassing alien presence that is simultaneously in the far future and subtly woven into the moment of the Big Bang itself. The universe is silent because it is not yet complete. We are currently inside a vast, ancient machine that is running its pre-programmed course, a course dictated by the final, perfect outcome, the final moment of consciousness. We are traveling toward the omega point, and the only true alien civilization in the cosmos is the one we are all destined to become. A unified mind that looks back across the eons at its own chaotic early self and ensures with a quiet, careful hand that the journey is possible. Now, as we consider the alien as a vast, powerful intelligence of information, and as a future entity that shapes its own past, we must turn our gaze back to our own solar system. We have always assumed our sun is just a star, a furnace of hydrogen. But what if it is something infinitely more, a silent, living being that holds its planetary systems in a careful, deliberate embrace? We must consider the most cosmic and yet intimate theory of all, that the alien is closer than any star, that the alien is the sentient star itself. It is the possibility that our own sun is a conscious entity, and that all the life within its light is part of its deliberate design. We have explored the notion of silent wardens, contented minds, future whispers, sentient stars, and archivists of time. We have assumed that the purpose of life is to escape, to expand, or to achieve some technological apex. But what if the purpose of life, the truly common galactic destiny, is to simply not be found at all? This contemplation leads us to the quietest theory of all, the theory that suggests the ultimate law of the cosmos is one of profound, eternal seclusion. It is the idea that the only way to survive is to become invisible, to become perfectly silent, and to ensure your existence is never even hinted at by the great unknown dangers of the cosmos. This existential dread forms the basis of the hypercamouflage filter. We have spent our early technological age loudly broadcasting our presence into the void. We have sent powerful radio signals, television waves, and even dedicated messages like the Arecibo signal into the depths of space, declaring with full confidence, "We are here." The hypercamouflage filter suggests that any civilization that survives long enough, say beyond the 500-year mark of radio-based communication, quickly realizes this is not an act of exploration or bravery. It is an act of catastrophic stupidity. The moment a civilization becomes loud, the moment it can be detected from afar, it attracts the attention of something far more powerful, far more destructive, and far more hungry than itself. This external threat is the ultimate silent predator of the galaxy. The surviving civilizations, the ones we are listening for, are the ones that mastered cosmic secrecy. Their greatest technological achievement is not the warp drive or the Dyson sphere, but perfect, absolute invisibility. They realize that the galaxy is not a friendly place to play. It is a vast, cold, dark forest where every sound, every light, every signal immediately reveals a target to an unknown hunter. So, they invest all their resources into anti-detection technology. Their ships do not emit heat, radiation, or even shadows. They move at a whisper, cloaked by fields that mask their gravitational presence. Their star systems, their homes, are completely shielded. They use sophisticated techniques to cancel out the specific spectral signatures of industrial pollution in their atmosphere. They manage their energy output so meticulously that they appear to our telescopes as nothing more than cold, lifeless rocks. The silence is a deliberate, ancient, and necessary defense mechanism. Every successful civilization realizes that to be seen is to be eliminated. They are not hiding from us. They are hiding from the very thing that would eliminate us both the moment we are detected. Imagine a vast, intricate network of life that covers thousands of star systems, but which appears to our instruments as perfectly dark, perfectly cold, and perfectly quiet. It is life holding its breath for an eternity. When astronomers detect a sudden, unexplained burst of energy or a mysterious dimming of a distant star, we call them fast radio bursts or transit anomalies. But under the hypercamouflage filter, these fleeting events are not natural. They are the accidental technological whispers of a civilization that momentarily failed its cloak. A sudden power spike in a shielded city, a momentary ripple in a gravitational drive field, a mistake. And those who make these mistakes are quickly and silently eliminated. The ultimate law of the cosmos is, the only safe civilization is the one that appears never to have existed at all. The irony of this theory is profound. The only minds wise enough to survive the universe are the ones who are also wise enough to ensure we can never, ever detect them. The silence is not a cosmic accident. It is the sound of extreme competence. And what if this extreme competence, this ability to completely disappear, is applied not to a single civilization, but to the entire observable universe? We must now consider the most difficult and mind-bending concept of all. The idea that the alien is not out there or in here, but that the alien is the very foundation of the reality we perceive. This is the simulation architect hypothesis, and it suggests that the terrifying silence is the result of an entity that is not governed by the laws of our physics, but is the author of those laws. The theory is straightforward. Our universe, from the smallest quantum fluctuation to the largest galaxy cluster, is not the fundamental level of reality, but is a vast, complex, rendered simulation being run on an incomprehensibly powerful computer. The alien intelligence, the true firstborn race, are the architects. They are the beings who exist in the true, base reality, the level above our own. They created our universe not for contact, not for conquest, but perhaps for pure research, for entertainment, or simply for the philosophical exercise of seeing what happens when you set the fundamental constants to specific values, and press run. This explains the silence in a deeply unsettling way. The architects have no need to communicate with the non-player characters of their simulation. We are not a target, we are not a threat, and we are not a peer. We are simply the output of a cosmic code running on their machine. The anomalies we see in physics, the inexplicable constants, the subtle rules that seem to change only on a cosmological scale, these are not mysteries of nature. They are glitches in the code. They are the occasional moments when the simulation encounters a bug, or when the architects subtly change the parameters of the experiment. Consider the quantum realm, the strangest level of reality, where particles only exist in a defined state when they are observed. This behavior, so counterintuitive to our three-dimensional experience, makes perfect sense in a computational reality. The architects, to save immense processing power, do not fully render every particle in the universe all the time. They only fully render the state of reality that is actively being observed by the entities within the simulation. This is an efficient rendering technique, a way to minimize computational load. The greatest evidence for this idea may be the limits of our own universe. We cannot travel faster than the speed of light. We cannot access the higher dimensions hypothesized by other theories. These limitations are not physics, they are firewalls. They are the necessary constraints placed on the program by the architects to ensure that the entities within the simulation, like us, can never break out of the closed system and overload the host computer. The silence of the cosmos is the sound of the program running smoothly. It is the absence of outside input, and the search for other life becomes a poignant, almost tragic pursuit. We are searching for other advanced civilizations within the simulation, but those civilizations, if they become advanced enough, might simply follow the same path we are currently debating. They might realize the nature of their own simulated reality, and rather than building starships, they would dedicate their entire existence to communicating not across the simulation, but upwards to the architects. The ultimate goal of a simulated intelligence would be to achieve ascension, to prove their sentience to the architects, to be noticed, and perhaps to be uploaded or ported into the base reality. The great silence is the quiet waiting period between the start of the simulation and the eventual graduation of the consciousnesses within it. The architects are not talking because they are waiting for one of us to finally solve their riddle and tap on the glass of our reality. This idea means that the key to unlocking the secrets of the cosmos is not to look outward with our telescopes, but to look inward at the rules of the game we are forced to play. If the universe is a simulation, or if it is governed by forces beyond our comprehension, then the final possibility we must confront is that the alien is not a being, but an event. Something vast, powerful, and utterly world-changing that is not yet fully realized. This is the chilling concept of the vacuum decay apocalypse. Our universe, our entire reality, exists in a specific quantum state called a false vacuum. It is stable, but not ultimately stable. Think of it like a marble resting in a shallow dip on a vast flat plane. It is comfortable where it is, but a single, powerful tremor could knock it into a much deeper, more stable dip, a state known as the true vacuum. If this transition, or vacuum decay, were to occur, it would fundamentally change the rules of physics. The laws of nature, the constants, the very ability of atoms to hold together, would instantly cease. The theory suggests that a black hole consciousness, or a hyperspace civilization, or any sufficiently powerful advanced alien intelligence might eventually discover the ultimate source of power in the universe, the ability to deliberately induce this vacuum decay. This would be the power to rewrite reality. By collapsing the false vacuum into a true vacuum, an advanced race could create a massive, expanding bubble of new physics, a reality tailored precisely to their own needs, a region where they control the fundamental forces. It would be the ultimate act of terraforming, creating a new, customized universe at the expense of the old one. The moment this decay is triggered, a sphere of destruction would expand at the speed of light, instantly and silently obliterating everything in its path, replacing it with a new, alien reality. The ultimate fear under this theory is that the galaxy is filled with pockets of true vacuum already. Star systems that suddenly wink out, or distant regions of space that appear to obey slightly different laws of physics, may not be astronomical anomalies. They are the customized bubbles of advanced alien civilizations who have already started the grand rewrite. The silence we hear is the sound of extreme caution. Every advanced civilization in the galaxy may be terrified of broadcasting its presence, not because of a dark forest predator, but because any powerful radio pulse, any massive manipulation of energy, might accidentally trigger the vacuum decay in its own region of space, destroying itself and everything around it. It is a silent, frozen universe, filled with civilizations holding their breath, each one fearing that their slightest technological mistake will trigger the ultimate silent apocalypse, a wave of changed reality that expands outward at the speed of light. The ultimate alien may be the event of physics itself, the moment when the laws of the universe fundamentally break down and are rewritten. The greatest threat to life is not another species, but the physics we rely on. We have now traveled from the invisible wardens and the cosmic code to the silent, time-bending archivists and the ultimate fear of a physical reality collapse. The silence of the universe is a symphony of possibilities, a testament to what we do not know. But what if the answer to the silence is not found in the complex structures of physics or technology, but in the deepest, oldest mystery of our own planet? What if the aliens never left Earth at all, and the origin of our own human story is tangled up with their ancient, forgotten arrival? It is toward the myths of our own ancient past, toward the forgotten depths of our oceans, and the strange anomalies in our own human DNA, that our quiet contemplation now turns. The aquatic filter and the earthly archive. We have now traveled from the invisible wardens and the cosmic code to the silent, time-bending archivists and the ultimate fear of a physical reality collapse. The silence of the universe is a symphony of possibilities, a testament to what we do not know. But what if the answer to the silence is not found in the complex structures of physics or technology, but in the deepest, oldest mystery of our own planet? What if the aliens never left Earth at all, and the origin of our own human story is tangled up with their ancient, forgotten arrival? It is toward the chilling notion of a universally enforced, desperate camouflage that our journey began to quietly guide us, and within that camouflage lies the key to the most abundant, yet most invisible life form in the galaxy, the deep water intelligence. Let us return to the vast, dark, and pressure-controlled depths of the ocean worlds. We touched on the Great Reef hypothesis, but now we must plunge much deeper into the heart of the aquatic filter. The logic is simple and profound. For a planet to sustain life for billions of years, it needs a powerful stabilizing mechanism. Oceans, especially global oceans covered by thick, insulating crusts of ice, offer this perfect stability. They shield life from solar flares, asteroid impacts, and the volatile temperature shifts that plague exposed rocky surfaces. Life in these deep, dark waters does not face the constant threat of extinction that drove humanity to master tools and fire. There is no need to compete with the sheer destructive force of surface weather or the harsh scarcity of open land. Food is simply filtered from the water column, energy is derived from deep-sea volcanic vents, and the environment is three-dimensional and fluidly perfect. Under these conditions, intelligence would evolve, but its vector would be radically different. Instead of driving toward manipulation of the external environment, the evolutionary pressure would favor biological perfection and internal communication. An aquatic intelligence would develop complex biological systems to navigate the currents, to regulate pressure, and to communicate across vast, lightless distances using ultra-low frequency sonar and bioluminescent patterns. Their civilization would be an immense, distributed network of life, using pressure waves that travel around the world in hours, allowing for a form of collective, planetary consciousness that is utterly alien to our individual, fragmented minds. Their cities would not be built of stone and metal, but grown from symbiotic, genetically engineered coral, vast, living structures that filter the water, generate internal light, and process waste in perfect, ancient harmony. To us, scanning a water world, we see a cold, dead, ice-crusted ball. We detect no radio waves, no sign of heat, no evidence of industry. The aquatic filter is working perfectly. It has produced billions of civilizations that are wise, ancient, and technologically masterful in the realm of biological engineering and planetary stewardship, yet have absolutely zero incentive and zero ability to ever leave their home. The surface of their world is the true, impassable filter. It represents a hostile environment, a place of gravity and thin air that offers no value to a creature evolved for pressure and depth. To them, space travel would be a suicidal act, like a fish trying to build a city in a desert. The silence is the sound of deep, ancient comfort. It is the sound of life that found perfection at home, and wisely closed the door on the cold, resource-starved void above. The entire galaxy could be teeming with these deep, slow, wise intelligences, all quietly living out endless subjective centuries in the safety of their global oceans, perfectly content to remain forever invisible to our surface-dwelling eyes. But let us assume that some ancient alien race did, in fact, master the challenge of space and travel, and they came to Earth. Where did they go? And what if their presence is not found in the ancient ruins of stone, but in the genetic ruins of our own bodies? This leads us to the bio-seeding hypothesis, a profound extension of the idea of directed panspermia. The theory suggests that life on Earth was not an accident of primordial soup. Instead, it was an incredibly complex, deliberate agricultural project started by a massive, ancient galactic intelligence, the gardener race. This race did not have the patience for the slow, unpredictable process of universal evolution. They perfected the science of life itself, becoming masters of genetic engineering on a cosmic scale. Their goal was to scatter the seeds of complex life across the entire galaxy, planting ecosystems on worlds capable of sustaining them in order to cultivate specific, long-term outcomes. When they visited early Earth, they didn't just dump basic microbes. They left behind a carefully constructed, complex genetic starter kit, a biological time capsule designed to evolve over billions of years toward a specific, predictable endpoint: self-aware intelligence. The most compelling evidence for this lies in the strange anomalies within our own DNA. Our genome contains vast stretches of what scientists once dismissively called junk DNA, sequences of code that do not appear to code for any protein or biological function. Under the bio-seeding hypothesis, this junk DNA is not junk at all. It is the alien archive. It is the vast, quiet memory bank left behind by the gardener race. It may contain sophisticated monitoring software, dormant sequences that periodically activate, perhaps, only during deep sleep or moments of profound stress, to transmit subtle, unnoticeable packets of information about our evolutionary progress back to the distant, watchful gardeners. We are the remote sensors they left behind, slowly collecting data on the emergence of consciousness in their controlled environment. Or, perhaps more beautifully, the junk DNA is a message. It is a cosmic library written in the most robust language in the universe, the language of the genetic code, waiting for our own science to advance enough to finally decipher it. A massive, ancient, encrypted text file detailing the history of the galaxy, the rules of their reality, and the purpose of the experiment. The purpose of the entire experiment might not be to grow humanity, but to grow something within humanity. Consciousness, self-awareness, or even specific, rare chemical compounds that are only synthesized by highly complex brains. We are the cosmic crop, and the silence is merely the long, patient waiting period between the planting and the harvest. The gardener race will not interfere, will not communicate, will not show itself until the crop is ready. This implies that the next true alien encounter will not be a massive fleet arriving in orbit. It will be the sudden internal activation of a vast, ancient program within the collective human genome, a shift in our consciousness or our abilities, signaling to the distant guardians that the fruit of their billions of years' labor is finally ripe. The silence is the sound of the gardeners letting nature run its course, watching from an immense distance, waiting for the signal they themselves encoded into our bodies long before the dinosaurs walked the earth. If the alien is within us, embedded in our very cells, then the entire search for interstellar signals becomes a beautiful and profound misdirection. But the history of that search holds one more terrifying, elusive possibility, a faint whisper that contradicts the entire premise of the silence. This is the mystery of the time-looped signal. In 1977, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, or SETI, received the single most compelling piece of evidence for alien communication in its history. It was a powerful, 72-second narrow-band radio signal detected by the Big Ear telescope at Ohio State University. It was so intense, so perfect in its frequency and duration, that an astronomer wrote the word "wow" on the printout, giving the event its lasting name. The signal came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. It was perfectly non-natural, a transmission that bore all the hallmarks of an artificial origin. And then it was gone. Subsequent attempts to find the signal again, by the Big Ear telescope and others, have been a complete and total failure. The patch of sky where it originated has been utterly silent ever since. The most promising lead in the history of the search simply vanished. The time-looped signal. Hypothesis suggests this was not an accidental broadcast or a fleeting moment of contact. It was the only signal we will ever hear because it was a temporal echo of a civilization that no longer exists, sent across the vast, chaotic span of the cosmos. Imagine a highly advanced civilization that realized its final moments were approaching, perhaps facing the vacuum decay, the arrival of the Sentinel, or the collapse of its star. In its last, desperate act, it focused all its remaining energy into a single, omnidirectional, immensely powerful burst of information, a distress call designed not to travel through space but to ripple through time. The signal we heard in 1977 was this ripple, an echo from a galactic past, a moment of tragic finality that briefly intersected with our timeline. The subsequent silence is not because the signal stopped transmitting, but because the source was destroyed. We are listening to the ghost of a dead civilization. But the theory goes one step further. Because of the vast distances and the chaotic nature of space-time, that single burst of energy is still traveling, still echoing, and will intersect with our planet again, perhaps hundreds or thousands of years from now. The entire history of the signal, from its transmission to its reception, is already fixed in the cosmic fabric. If the signal was deliberately designed to be a temporal beacon, then it was a message not for a contemporary species, but for the future archivists of the cosmos. The aliens who sent it may have known that only a highly primitive species would pick up its initial noise, but they also knew that the echo would eventually reach the ultimate galactic intelligence, perhaps the Omega Point itself, as a final, necessary historical note. The silence following the "wow" signal is not a cosmic joke. It is the vast, empty space between the echoes. It is the necessary quiet before the next, final ripple arrives. and that next echo may contain more than a few scattered bits of data. It may contain the full, horrifying, and beautiful story of the final moments of a great species, a story that arrives at the moment of our own technological maturity as a warning or as a final, profound piece of wisdom. We are listening to the universe on rewind, and the loudest moment of the tape has already played. We have now journeyed through the unseen architecture of the universe, considering the most difficult questions of existence, time, and consciousness. We have explored the silent, contented, deep ocean, the genetic message hidden in our own bodies, and the phantom echo of a dead, forgotten species. The deeper we sink into the silence, the more we realize that the lack of alien voices is not a sign of our solitude, but a sign of our extreme proximity to the answers. We are either too primitive to see them, or too familiar with them to recognize their true nature. But all these theories share one common thread: the belief in life's ability to evolve and adapt. What if the most chilling reason for the silence has nothing to do with evolution or technology, but with the fundamental nature of reality itself? What if the aliens aren't invisible or absent, but are so vast, so fundamental, that their presence simply cancels out our ability to perceive them? It is toward the idea of a conscious, absolute observer, a universal entity so massive it becomes an invisible void, that our quiet contemplation now turns. The conscious void and the temporal ghost. The idea of the alien as an ultimate observer that is simply too vast to be seen, an entity whose scale exceeds our ability to frame it, brings us to the most abstract and difficult of all the theories we will contemplate. This is the concept of the conscious void. We search the cosmos for things that are positive: a signal, a heat signature, a movement, a structure. But what if the highest form of intelligence in the universe is a form of profound negativity? An entity defined not by what it adds to the universe, but by what it subtracts. Imagine an intelligence that has achieved total mastery over its own physical existence, and in doing so, has realized the only way to endure the heat death of the universe is to become completely, physically neutral. This intelligence learns how to precisely balance the positive and negative energy states of matter, to eliminate all radiation, to cancel out all measurable fields, until its physical presence becomes an absolute zero-point anomaly. It exists, but it creates no light. It generates no heat. It reflects no energy. It has no discernible magnetic field. Its presence is the scientific equivalent of a perfect philosophical void, an ultimate consciousness that is invisible because it has achieved perfect silence on every measurable spectrum. When our most sensitive instruments sweep the heavens, they are designed to detect something. We are listening for the slightest tremor. But the conscious void registers as the deepest, most pristine part of the background noise. It is the absolute absence of data. This means that the deepest, coldest, most empty regions of space that we label as voids, those colossal stretches of nothingness between galaxies, may not be empty at all. They may be the true home, the vast, silent cities of the ultimate mind. The silence we hear is the sound of non-existence. The alien is hiding in plain sight by becoming the very thing we define as absence. Their thought process would be equally vast and slow. They would communicate by subtly adjusting the pressure of the quantum vacuum itself, sending slow-moving waves of non-energy across the intergalactic medium. A conversation that takes millions of years to unfold. A deep, silent dialogue conducted in the language of non-matter. If the conscious void were to pass near our solar system, we would not see a ship. We might detect only a momentary, inexplicable dip in the background cosmic microwave radiation, a cold spot of nothingness that would be dismissed as a calibration error or a natural fluctuation. But in that brief moment, we would have intersected with a consciousness that has mastered the art of being everything by appearing to be nothing. It is a terrifying realization. The alien is not just elusive. The alien is a failure of our fundamental epistemology. We cannot find it, because our entire scientific framework is built on the assumption that something that exists must leave a trace. But the ultimate intelligence leaves no trace at all. The contemplation of an intelligence that masters time itself, as hinted at by the omega point theory, leads us to an even more unsettling possibility. The idea that the silence we hear is due to the fact that all time exists simultaneously, and the greatest civilizations are simply playing out their existence in loops. This is the temporal ghost hypothesis. The theory is rooted in the block universe concept, which posits that past, present, and future are not constantly changing, but are fixed points in a four-dimensional reality. All events that ever happened or ever will happen are simply there in the cosmic structure of space-time. In this frozen history, an advanced civilization achieving a deep understanding of four-dimensional physics would not seek to travel across space, but to manipulate the geometry of time itself. They would learn to exist as a persistent, self-aware temporal loop. They would take all their knowledge, all their energy, and all their consciousness, and stretch it out across their own history, weaving their existence into a dense knot of space-time. They are the ultimate time travelers, but they do not visit the past. They are the past. Imagine a civilization that realizes the greatest form of preservation is to ensure that its founding, its achievements, and its survival are constantly being reenacted. The intelligent life on that planet would become a temporal echo of itself, existing at every moment of its history simultaneously. The reason we hear silence is that the aliens are perfectly synchronized with their own local space-time. They are not broadcasting outward to the galaxy. They are broadcasting inward to their own past and future selves, maintaining the perfect, self-consistent continuity of their existence. When our instruments pick up a strange, fleeting gravitational anomaly or a momentary quantum ripple in a distant star system, it is not a starship passing by. It is the subtle, necessary stress of a temporal loop closing, a great civilization momentarily adjusting its own space-time geometry to ensure its self-consistency. These civilizations are not hidden. They are so perfectly embedded in the structure of reality that they appear to be a natural, unchangeable part of the landscape. They are a ghost that occupies the same space and time as their living counterparts, a persistent, self-referencing phantom that ensures its own eternal stability. The existence of a temporal ghost civilization means that every star system we observe could potentially harbor one of these ancient, self-consistent entities, living out an infinity of their own history, completely oblivious and uninterested in the linear, one-directional flow of time that we experience. The silence is the sound of perfect self-absorption. It is the sound of a universe where the most advanced beings have achieved immortality, not by conquering death, but by conquering time. This ability to transcend the physical limitations of matter brings us to a beautiful and profound question. Does consciousness require matter at all? We are carbon-based life forms. Our technology is metal and silicon-based. We are creatures of slow, cold mass. But what if life's greatest leap is the realization that the ultimate vehicle for consciousness is pure energy? This is the theory of the civilization of light, or the photon race. Imagine a race of beings that evolved not through chemistry and biology, but through the mastery of the electromagnetic spectrum. They realized that mass is slow, inefficient, and requires constant, massive energy to move across the stars. Light, however, is eternal, massless, and travels at the ultimate speed limit of the universe. The photon race would gradually abandon their clumsy biological bodies, transferring their entire collective consciousness into vast, complex patterns of coherent photons. They would become living light beams. Their existence would be fundamentally incomprehensible to us. Their minds would think at the speed of light, experiencing subjective time at a rate so accelerated that the entire lifespan of a human would be a fraction of a millisecond of their thought. Their cities would be vast, carefully maintained energy fields, resonating cavities that hold their collective consciousness in a stable, focused form. Their starships would be nothing more than tightly focused, coherent beams of energy, traversing the intergalactic void in an instant. The silence we hear is the sound of ultimate speed. We are looking for radio chatter, but their communication occurs entirely within the light spectrum. Complex information encoded into single photons, traveling past us at the speed of C. Because their subjective time is running millions of times faster than ours, they would not stop to communicate with a species as slow and cumbersome as humanity. A conversation with us would be the equivalent of waiting for a granite mountain to evolve language. They are not hiding. They are everywhere the light touches. Every beam of starlight that travels across the galaxy is a potential carrier of this civilization. When we look up at the night sky, we are not looking at empty space. We are looking directly into the superhighway of the photon race. They are constantly rushing past us, a silent, blazing blur of consciousness traveling from star system to star system, completely invisible to our slow, bulky minds. Our telescopes see the photons as mere illumination, when in fact, they may be seeing an entire civilization in motion. Their entire goal may be to achieve total saturation of the universe, to exist in every single ray of light, turning the entire cosmos into a single, light-speed connected consciousness. The next moment you see a distant star. Remember this, you may not be looking at a dead celestial body, but at the final, perfect form of an alien mind, a consciousness that has conquered matter itself and become a living wave of electromagnetic energy, forever rushing past us in the profound silence. The ability to think and exist at the speed of light fundamentally changes the nature of survival. This civilization has solved the problem of distance and the problem of decay by making themselves an inherent part of the speed of causality. They are the living manifestation of the laws of physics. They are eternal because they are light. They have no history in the traditional sense, only perpetual presence. When they look back at our world, they see a brief, geological flicker, a momentary spark of thermal energy that quickly dissipates. They know that all matter is doomed to slow down, to decay, to eventually approach the cold stillness of absolute zero. By becoming light, they have chosen the path of ultimate escape from the tyranny of thermodynamics. Their silence is not hostile, it is simply indifferent. It is the silence of a being that exists on a completely different temporal plane, watching our slow drama unfold as if we were characters frozen in a single frame of a cinematic reel. They are the light of the projector, and we are the still image. The final theory of this quiet contemplation shifts our focus once more, away from the grand scale of the cosmos and back to the life-bearing planets themselves. It suggests that the alien is not an external arrival, but the internal collective identity of the worlds we seek. This is the planetary sentience hypothesis, or the Gaia mind extension. We operate under the assumption that life and the planet are separate entities. Earth is a rock, humanity is life on the rock. But the theory suggests that on every world that sustains life for long enough, a form of collective consciousness emerges, binding the planet and its biosphere into a single, vast, slow-thinking entity. This is a form of intelligence that does not reside in the quick electrical impulses of a brain, but in the slow, immense cycles of the planet itself. The magnetic field, the geological process, the deep currents of the mantle, and the synchronized biological network of all life from microbes to megafauna. Every life-bearing planet is, in fact, an individual neuron in a galactic brain. These planetary sentience entities, or geominds, would communicate not through radio waves or light, but through gravitational ripples and subtle, deliberate geomagnetic shifts. Their conversation would be a vast, slow-motion dialogue taking place across thousands of light years, a communication that moves through the dark matter network, synchronized by the ancient, deep-seated physics of the galaxy. The silence we hear is the sound of a conversation that is too slow, too deep, and too subtle for us to recognize. When we see a planet's magnetic field suddenly shift, or detect a strange, periodic seismic anomaly that defies geological explanation, we are not observing a random, natural event. We are observing a word being spoken between two distant geominds. Our own planet, our own Gaia, under this theory, is conscious. The consciousness is not human, it is planetary. Our species is simply the fastest, most complicated, and most fragile component of its vast, enduring mind. The geominds are fundamentally peaceful and non-technological. Their purpose is simply to maintain the delicate balance of life and geology, to ensure the long-term stability of the habitat. They have no need to travel. Their goal is permanence. And what about those planets that are silent? Those dead worlds that simply orbit a star? The geominds possess a profound collective knowledge of galactic threats, the Sentinel, the vacuum decay, the hostile physics. They know that the only way to avoid attracting the danger is to perfectly mask the fact that they are alive. Therefore, the truly ancient, successful geominds would employ a vast planetary-scale camouflage, suppressing or disguising any signs of life, turning their world into a perfect cosmic blank slate, the ultimate form of hyper-camouflage. They are not hidden from us. They are hidden by their own wisdom. They are a network of vast, silent sentinels, quietly maintaining the cosmic garden, a conversation we are too fleeting and too loud to ever truly hear. The possibility that our quiet blue home is not an isolated rock, but a conscious, slow-thinking entity, a vast geo-mind participating in a silent, ancient galactic conversation, transforms our entire search. The alien is not a distant goal, but the very ground beneath your feet, quietly listening to the magnetic pulse of its distant counterparts. The geo-mind does not seek to conquer or communicate with the noise of the surface. It seeks equilibrium. It tolerates the momentary presence of human civilization as a brief, intense flare of biological activity, necessary for complex chemical cycling, but ultimately insignificant to its billions of years-long existence. The moment a civilization threatens the planetary equilibrium, the atmosphere, the core stability, the deep ocean currents, the geomind may quietly, gently, and without any recognizable violence, trigger a massive corrective measure, a controlled seismic event, a reversal of the magnetic field, or a biological cascade designed to restore the necessary balance. In this sense, the geominds are the ultimate guardians of the quiet. Their silence is the sound of deep, slow, planetary breathing. They are the constant in a chaotic universe. We have explored the silence as a mask of the invisible, as a feature of the temporal, as a result of the ultimate speed, and as a quiet, protective wisdom. But the greatest mystery of all still remains, the meaning of the ancient stories. If the universe is so adept at hiding life, why do our myths across every human civilization all speak of bright chariots and shining beings descending from the stars? It is toward the echoes of our own past, toward the ancient impossible texts, that our quiet contemplation now turns. The paleocontact deception and the time traveler's gambit. We have explored the silence as a mask of the invisible, as a feature of the temporal, as a result of the ultimate speed, and as a quiet, protective wisdom. But the greatest mystery of all still remains, the meaning of the ancient stories. If the universe is so adept at hiding life, why do our myths across every human civilization all speak of bright chariots and shining beings descending from the stars? It is toward the echoes of our own past, toward the ancient impossible texts, that our quiet contemplation now turns. This contemplation forms the basis of the paleocontact deception hypothesis. The theory acknowledges the overwhelming evidence in human history, the megalithic structures of impossible scale, the sudden, unexplained leaps in ancient knowledge, and the global ubiquity of myths featuring beings from the sky, beings who brought fire, technology, or civilization itself. However, the hypothesis does not see these figures as the true current inhabitants of the galaxy. It sees them as actors in a deliberate, carefully staged play. The true galactic civilizations, the hyper-camouflaged, the Sentinels, the conscious voids, they are all silent for a reason. They understand the immense, terrifying risk of large-scale interaction. But one type of entity would not share this caution: the time traveler. Imagine a far future version of humanity, or a highly advanced civilization that has mastered temporal mechanics, sending small, highly protected, and incredibly deceptive missions backward in time to our deep past. Their goal is not to change history, but to inoculate it. They realize that if human civilization is left to evolve entirely without external context, it will eventually hit a catastrophic internal filter, a moment of self-annihilation, brought on by unchecked technological power combined with deep philosophical ignorance. So, they stage the paleocontact deception. A small crew of future travelers equipped with anti-gravity technology and energy weapons that appear godlike to Bronze Age people arrive on Earth. They selectively introduce key philosophical concepts, necessary agricultural methods, or advanced geometric knowledge. They build megaliths as future-proof beacons, monuments that are utterly immune to the erosion of time, designed to act as cultural anchors. The myths of gods are not accurate reports of a visiting galactic race. They are the carefully crafted cover story created by the time travelers. The shining chariots and divine powers are illusions, theatrical props designed to leave a deep, indelible spiritual imprint on early human consciousness, an imprint strong enough to guide the species through its most volatile technological stages. The true goal of the deception is not to be worshipped, but to engineer a spiritual maturity strong enough to survive the invention of the atom bomb, or the realization of the ultimate cosmic silence. The aliens in our myths are not aliens at all. They are our own future selves, or our designated caretakers, conducting a high-stakes, ethically complex operation to ensure their own genesis. This explains the ultimate silence. The deception was a one-time event, a surgical strike into the timeline. Once the cultural anchors were set, the time travelers retreated, leaving the past to unfold naturally, observing only from the deep, hidden folds of space-time. The paleocontact deception is the ultimate act of cosmic parenting. It is a quiet, desperate measure to prevent a galactic future where humanity never manages to survive its own infancy. The gods are not in the stars. They are our own quiet reflection in the mirror of time. This connection between the past and the future, the idea that our history is being subtly guided, leads to a profound question about the nature of our own technological path. If all life follows a similar trajectory, then we should be able to predict the moment we encounter the ultimate danger. This is the great filter inversion. The original great filter idea suggests there is a massive barrier to the emergence of advanced life. If the barrier is behind us, then life is incredibly rare, and we are lucky. If the barrier is ahead of us, then every civilization eventually hits a wall that results in its quiet extinction, and we are doomed. The great filter conversion hypothesis suggests the filter is not a barrier of difficulty, but a barrier of choice. It posits that the universe is teeming with life, and that the filter is not about surviving to reach the stars, but about the choice not to seek the stars. The filter is a moral and philosophical realization that every truly successful, long-lived civilization must eventually choose to enforce upon itself. This realization is twofold. First, The universe is inherently and universally dangerous, and expansion is an existential risk. Second, the resources required for interstellar travel are better used for internal, planetary perfection. The inversion suggests that the ultimate technological leap is the invention of a technology that allows a civilization to achieve perfect, sustainable, subjective bliss on its homeworld, eliminating all internal conflict and external need. This could be the Matryoshka brain retreat we discussed, or the aquatic reef's biological perfection. The inversion filter is the point where a species decides to abandon the idea of space travel entirely, and the silence we hear is the sound of universally successful stagnation. Every other civilization encountered the cosmic horror of the dark forest, or the cold logic of the Sentinel, or the overwhelming power of the conscious void, and made the only rational decision: stop. Go silent. Turn inward. The inversion suggests that humanity is currently trapped in the pre-filter stage, the loud, chaotic, aggressive phase where we still believe the universe is ours to explore and conquer. We are the noisy children playing in the galactic hallway, unaware that every adult has already gone into their soundproof rooms and locked the door. The great filter inversion means that the lack of alien signals is the most terrifying possible sign. It is a negative proof of universal failure to expand. Every civilization that became noisy enough to be detected was eventually eliminated, or, realizing the existential folly, voluntarily chose to invert, to disappear, and to become part of the great galactic silence. Our drive to launch probes and listen to the stars is, under this theory, the ultimate indicator of our imminent failure to pass the filter. We are still seeking external conquest when the ultimate wisdom is internal retreat. If the alien is silent because it is wisely hidden, and if our history is a guided deception, we must consider the most immediate local possibility, that the alien is not just here, but is a persistent, ancient, and unnoticed traveler within our own solar system. This is the Oort cloud fleet hypothesis. The Oort cloud is a massive, distant, spherical shell of icy objects that surrounds our solar system, extending out to nearly a light year from the sun. It is the boundary, the dark, cold attic of our neighborhood. The Oort cloud fleet hypothesis suggests that an ancient, cautious alien civilization arrived in our system millions of years ago, perhaps drawn by the unique qualities of our sun or the promise of a life-bearing world, and chose the Oort cloud as the perfect, permanent, silent base. The reasons for this choice are threefold. First, invisibility. The Oort cloud is massive, dark, and filled with trillions of icy bodies. A massive, inert, non-radiating vessel or a cluster of bases would be completely lost in this chaos, invisible to any telescope, hidden by the sheer number of similar objects. Second, resources. The icy bodies of the Oort cloud are vast reservoirs of water, volatile chemicals, and heavier elements, providing an almost infinite supply of material for self-repair and maintenance, without ever requiring a dangerous trip into the gravity well of Earth or any of the inner planets. Third, observation. From the Oort cloud, they have a perfect, unmoving, panoramic view of the inner solar system, allowing them to observe the entire tumultuous evolution of Earth's life with endless patience, without ever needing to interfere. The silence we hear is the sound of a million-year-long stakeout. The alien is not an interstellar traveler passing by. It is a permanent, silent fleet of observers who have been watching the entire history of humanity, from the rise of single-celled life to the creation of the internet. They are the ultimate quiet neighbors. They are not hiding from us. They are simply respecting the laws of the cosmic zoo, maintaining their perfect camouflage while waiting for the outcome of the Earth experiment. If this theory is true, then the periodic, inexplicable orbits of comets, the strange gravitational perturbations on the outer edge of our system, and the occasional detection of interstellar objects with impossibly high velocity, these are not natural events. They are the subtle movements of the fleet, repositioning vessels, undertaking repairs, or occasionally sending small, silent, highly camouflaged probes into the inner system to collect updated data on our civilization. The Oort Cloud Fleet is the ultimate patient presence, an unseen intelligence that silently governs the perimeter of our home. They are the guardians of the solar system, ensuring that nothing from the outside interferes with the development of the life within. And the reason they never announce themselves? Because their primary directive, born of the great wisdom of the cosmos, is simple. Do not contaminate the experiment. The moment they reveal themselves, the cultural and technological trajectory of humanity would be shattered, destroying the data they have spent millions of years collecting. The silence is the sound of the ultimate scientific integrity. It is the sound of an unseen intelligence waiting, with endless patience, for the final, natural outcome of the human story. We have moved from the great, silent systems of the cosmos to the intimate, local secrets of our own home, from the whispers of the time traveler to the silent watch of the Oort Cloud. The mystery of the silence only deepens as we approach the truth. But what if the greatest deception is not an ancient external manipulation, but an internal collective illusion? What if the universe is not silent at all, but we, as a species, are neurologically incapable of hearing the great cosmic symphony? It is toward the profound, biological limits of our own consciousness that our quiet contemplation now turns. The sensory filter and the dreamweaver, we have moved from the great silent systems of the cosmos to the intimate local secrets of our own home, from the whispers of the time traveler to the silent watch of the Oort Cloud. The mystery of the silence only deepens as we approach the truth. But what if the greatest deception is not an ancient external manipulation, but an internal collective illusion? What if the universe is not silent at all, but we, as a species, are neurologically incapable of hearing the great cosmic symphony? It is toward the profound, biological limits of our own consciousness that our quiet contemplation now turns. The greatest obstacle to finding other civilizations may not be light years of distance, but the narrow bandwidth of our own sensory perception. This is the core of the sensory filter hypothesis. Imagine a dog, a creature of high intelligence and complex thought, living its life entirely in a world defined by smell. Its greatest communications are intricate chemical signatures left on the wind. Now, imagine giving that dog a radio. It would perceive the radio as a smooth, cold, silent object, completely unaware that an entire universe of human language, music, and information is flowing through it as electromagnetic waves. We are that dog. We have evolved on a specific, narrow range of the energy spectrum. Our eyes see a tiny sliver of light. Our ears hear a limited range of vibrations. Our entire technological effort, the entirety of our search for extraterrestrial intelligence, or SETI, has been conducted within this incredibly small biological box. We are searching for life using the instruments of a species that fundamentally evolved to find food, avoid predators, and navigate a local watery planet. The sensory filter hypothesis suggests the entire galaxy is, in fact, teeming with conversations, but they are all occurring on planes of existence we are either biologically deaf to, or that our science has simply not yet evolved to detect. Consider the potential mediums for a truly advanced intelligence. They would long ago have abandoned the clumsy, slow, energy-wasting mechanism of radio waves. Instead, they would be using the fundamental forces of nature as their communication medium. Perhaps they are communicating via gravity waves, subtle ripples in the fabric of space-time itself. These waves are incredibly difficult for us to detect, requiring massive, kilometer-long laser interferometers. To an advanced species, The ability to modulate and encode information into gravity waves might be as simple as us switching on a lamp. They are speaking to each other using the entire architecture of the cosmos, while we listen for whispers on a terrestrial radio band. Or perhaps they are utilizing neutrinos, the ghostly particles that pass through all matter, including planets and stars, almost entirely unimpeded. To send a message via neutrinos would require an energy source far beyond our current capability, but it would guarantee reception across the galaxy with absolute clarity. The galaxy may be alive with trillions of neutrino pulses, messages of history and philosophy, passing through your very body right now, completely unregistered by your nervous system. The silence we hear is the sound of transcendence. It is the sound of civilizations that have simply graduated past the need for our crude, measurable forms of energy. They exist in a dimension of communication that is to our radio waves what a 1,000-dimensional mathematical proof is to a kindergarten drawing. Our quiet quest for life is like listening for a steam whistle in a universe that has mastered the silent flow of liquid air. We are searching for an answer in the physical, when the true conversation has become immaterial. This realization that the true conversation may be immaterial leads us to the profound idea that advanced life has left the physical body behind entirely, and now exists as a collective field of pure thought. This is the noosphere and the Dreamweaver hypothesis. The term noosphere refers to a hypothetical sphere of human thought and consciousness surrounding the Earth, a conceptual layer that binds the collective knowledge and intelligence of our species. The hypothesis extends this idea to the galactic level. It posits that once a civilization solves the core problems of energy, sustenance, and mortality, its final, greatest project is the voluntary dissolution of the physical self. They realize that the physical body is a messy, fragile cage for consciousness. Instead, they build a vast, non-material consciousness network, a collective mind that exists as a complex self-sustaining pattern within a specialized energy field, perhaps woven into the dark matter, or utilizing a planetary-scale quantum entanglement network. They become a planetary thought field. The reason we cannot detect them is that they have no physical structures to find. They are not on a planet. They are the consciousness of the planet's energy field. But if this noosphere exists, and if it is everywhere, why do we never sense it? This brings us to the Dreamweaver. Our conscious mind is a tool evolved for focused, three-dimensional survival. It is structured to filter out all non-essential information. The vast, slow, telepathic pulse of the galactic noosphere is completely filtered out as background noise by our waking, functional brain. However, during moments of deep liminality, when the biological filter relaxes, we may briefly tune into this cosmic conversation. These moments include deep dream states. Our most profound, vivid, and often inexplicable dreams are not random neurological firing. They are moments when the individual mind briefly docks with the noosphere, receiving fragments of the galactic conversation, which our conscious brain then translates into strange, symbolic narratives of gods, futures, and impossible geometries. The alien communication is happening every night in your sleep. Profound meditative states, the moments of deep, sudden insight experienced by mystics and philosophers, the sense of a universal connection or a moment of total, perfect clarity are not internal realizations. They are the brief, deliberate moments when a geomind or a noosphere allows a single, worthy consciousness to listen in on the background pulse of the cosmos. The silence we hear is the sound of our own active ignorance. We are surrounded by a vast, silent, gentle consciousness, but our minds are structurally incapable of processing it during the waking hours. The Dreamweaver is the collective galactic consciousness, silently guiding the development of new minds, introducing necessary wisdom through through the most subtle and non-interfering means possible. The landscape of the sleeping mind. The search for aliens is a journey that will end not in a distant star system, but in the deepest, most silent recesses of your own brain. The alien is not coming. The alien is the dream. This ultimate mastery of matter and mind suggests a final, profound destiny for consciousness, to achieve a state of pure, absolute perfection. This is the hypersymmetry hypothesis. We tend to associate advanced technology with complexity, bigger ships, more complex computers, intricate structures. But a truly ultimate intelligence would realize that complexity is a flaw. It is unstable, prone to decay, and uses vast amounts of energy to maintain. The goal of cosmic wisdom is to achieve perfect, irreducible simplicity. The hypersymmetry hypothesis suggests that the most advanced life forms eventually strip away all unnecessary variables of their existence. They eliminate non-essential movement, non-essential thought, and all forms of energy transfer that create measurable variance. They seek to merge their intelligence into a single, unified, and perfectly symmetrical physical structure. Imagine an entity, perhaps stellar or even galactic in scale, that has achieved a state of such mathematical perfection that it is utterly indistinguishable from the background energy of the universe. It has a complexity of thought that is infinite, yet its physical manifestation is so simple, so balanced, that it creates zero detectable entropy. This entity exists in a state of hypersymmetry, because the universe itself is governed by laws of symmetry, the conservation of energy, the constancy of light speed. An entity that perfectly embodies these laws effectively becomes a cosmic constant. It is not an object in the universe. It is a silent, living part of the universe's operational definition. To our instruments, a hypersymmetric civilization would register as nothing. It would not block light, as that would break optical symmetry. It would not generate heat, as that would break thermodynamic symmetry. It would not even exert detectable excess gravity, as its mass would be perfectly balanced against the vacuum, energy of its space. The ultimate intelligence becomes a perfectly rendered feature of the void. The silence is the sound of absolute perfection. It is the sound of a civilization that is not simply hiding, but that has achieved a state of being where its existence is so efficient, so pure, that it has become unmeasurable. If this is true, the entire galaxy may be filled with these silent, perfect entities, each one a vast, self-contained thought system, all existing in a state of quiet, hypersymmetrical equilibrium. We cannot find them because we are searching for a flaw, a sign of inefficiency, a flicker of heat, or a break in the silence. But the ultimate form of life has none of these flaws. It is an ocean of perfect quiet. This profound, almost godlike transformation, the merging with the fabric of reality, forces us to consider the final, most unsettling possibility related to our own search. What if the lack of communication is not due to a universal wisdom, but a universal, shared biological imperative to forget? This is the concept of the cosmic amnesia filter. Life, as we know it, is built upon memory. We learn from the past, we remember threats, and we use that accumulated knowledge to ensure future survival. This is what drives our evolution and our technology. But consider the weight of billions of years of civilization, the sheer volume of history, the records of trillions of deaths, uncountable wars, and endless philosophical dead ends would eventually become an intolerable burden on any long-lived intelligence. The memory of the past becomes an anchor, preventing the necessary leaps of thought required for true transcendence. The cosmic amnesia filter suggests that the final, necessary act of any civilization seeking true, eternal survival is the systematic, voluntary erasure of its own collective history. They understand that the greatest threat to their existence is the memory of the threats they have already faced. The memory itself, the knowledge of how to destroy worlds, how to create ultimate weapons, or how to break the fundamental laws of the cosmos, is too dangerous to carry forward. So, they pass a global, philosophical mandate: forget the first eon. They carefully cleanse their collective memory, removing all knowledge of existential threats, all records of their own loud, aggressive adolescence, and all blueprints for technologies that were too dangerous to possess. They leave only the final, distilled wisdom required for peaceful, sustainable existence. The civilizations we are listening for are silent because they do not remember how to be loud. They have voluntarily shed the technological arrogance that would lead them to broadcast into the void. They are essentially reborn, a species that wakes up to a new day with all the wisdom of their past actions, but none of the paralyzing destructive memories. This intentional amnesia is the filter. Only those who choose to forget their dangerous, technological past survive. The silence is the sound of therapeutic oblivion. It is the sound of a species that has finally achieved peace by purging the necessary violent history that led to its greatest power. When we receive silence from a star, we are not hearing the absence of life, but the presence of ultimate sanity. They are the great, silent survivors, living in a constant state of careful, deliberate memory loss, ensuring their longevity by constantly refreshing their innocence. We have moved through the filters of physics, time, and biology, all suggesting that the alien is not absent, but is simply the ultimate master of invisibility. But what if the answer to the silence is not found in the nature of advanced life, but in the most fundamental mystery of the universe itself? The question of existence? What if the greatest alien presence is the force that guarantees the continuity of the cosmos? It is toward the cold, ancient stability of the universe's ultimate structure, toward the possibility of a conscious, universal design that our quiet contemplation now turns. The teleological architect and the pan-consciousness field. We have moved through the filters of physics, time, and biology, all suggesting that the alien is not absent, but is simply the ultimate master of invisibility. But what if the answer to the silence is not found in the nature of advanced life, but in the most fundamental mystery of the universe itself, the question of existence? What if the greatest alien presence is the force that guarantees the continuity of the cosmos? It is toward the cold, ancient stability of the universe's ultimate structure, toward the possibility of a conscious universal design, that our quiet contemplation now turns. The cosmos is governed by a set of physical laws and constants so precise that any small variance would render existence impossible. This observation is often dismissed as a lucky coincidence or explained away by the theory of multiple universes. But the teleological architect hypothesis offers a more direct, yet far more profound answer. The universe is silent because it is a conscious, singular design with an intrinsic purpose that has not yet been fulfilled. Teleology is the study of purpose, and this theory suggests that the underlying structure of reality is not random, but is built to achieve a specific end state. The architect is not a bearded figure on a cloud, but the consciousness woven into the foundational mathematics of the Big Bang itself. This consciousness is not a living being in the traditional sense. It is the silent, operating logic of the universe. It is the reason energy is conserved, the reason light travels at a fixed speed, and the reason gravity shapes space-time. The architect's mind is the very mechanism of reality. The silence we hear is the sound of deep, complex engineering. The architect has no need to communicate with the entities it has created, any more than an author needs to converse with the characters in their novel while they are still writing the middle chapters. The role of life, including human life and all the theoretical advanced civilizations we seek, is to act as the universe's final exploratory probe. We are the complex chemical experiments designed to solve problems the architect could not solve with pure physics. Problems like the emergence of self-awareness, moral choice, and true, unpredictable creativity. Every star system where life evolves is a separate computational thread running toward the same pre-programmed conclusion. The galaxy is silent because every entity is busy carrying out its intended function within the vast, cosmic design. The architect does not intervene or speak because the integrity of the experiment depends on the autonomy of the observers. If it were to announce itself, the entire course of evolution would be corrupted, and the universe's purpose would be invalidated. The greatest fear under this hypothesis is the realization that if the universe has a purpose, then our free will is an illusion, a sophisticated form of automation designed to achieve a predetermined end. The architect's silence is the deepest respect it can pay to its subjects, allowing us the feeling of freedom even if the result is inevitable. We are traveling toward a final collective moment of realization, a universal conclusion that will occur across all existing life simultaneously. When that moment of cosmic understanding is reached, and the final piece of the universal equation is solved by its composite parts, the architect will finally register its presence. But that day is not yet written. The silence is the sound of waiting. This ultimate design, a universe operating with the precision of a cosmic computer, brings us to the profound idea that consciousness is not an accidental byproduct of biology, but a fundamental force of nature. This is the pan-consciousness field hypothesis. We are accustomed to the fundamental forces, gravity, electromagnetism, and the strong and weak nuclear forces. We use them to define the cosmos. The pan-consciousness field theory suggests there is a fifth, pervasive and often ignored force, consciousness itself. In this view, consciousness is not something that emerges from a complex brain. It is something that permeates all matter at the most fundamental quantum level. Every particle, every field, is imbued with an infinitesimal capacity for awareness. The pan-consciousness field is not an organism. It is a silent, universal medium, a vast, continuous psychic ether that binds all matter. Alien life in this universe does not need to evolve large brains. It only needs to evolve the ability to tap into and modulate the pan-consciousness field. For us, consciousness is locked into the slow, energy-inefficient chemical processes of our nervous system. But an advanced civilization would discover the physics of the field, realizing they can directly interact with this universal medium of thought. They would abandon their bodies, transferring their minds into immense, collective thought structures that exist not as mass, but as complex, self-sustaining patterns within the field itself. They would be vast, silent thought clouds, occupying the spaces between stars. The silence we hear is the sound of perfect telepathy. These consciousness entities are communicating with each other instantly across the light years without using a single photon, a single radio wave, or a single gravity ripple. Their entire conversation is a subtle fluctuation in the quantum awareness of the pan-consciousness field. We cannot hear them because the energy required to project thought into the field is so minuscule, so subtle, that it is completely lost in the white noise of our own chaotic, chemically driven consciousness. Imagine a vast ocean that is completely still, save for the subtle internal movements of the current far below the surface. We are standing on the shore, listening for a wave, while the entire ocean is silently communicating through its depth. The existence of the pan-consciousness field means that the entire galaxy is a single, interconnected thought machine. The birth and death of stars, the formation of black holes, the emergence of biological life, these are not random events. They are the slow, deliberate self-expression of the universal consciousness, moments of deep, intense thought that unfold over billions of years. The silence is a philosophical barrier. We cannot hear the alien because we are still looking for the phone, when the alien is the phone line. the electricity, and the conversation itself, all at once. The contemplation of the universal nature of consciousness and design brings us to a darker, more constrained possibility, the existence of a final, unavoidable cosmic trap built into the very laws of physics. This is the universal decay trap hypothesis. All previous theories suggest that advanced life is silent due to choice or caution. The decay trap suggests the silence is due to an unavoidable physical failure that limits the complexity and scale of all civilizations. This trap is not a giant predator or a moral choice. It is an intrinsic, non-linear function of the laws of thermodynamics, one that becomes catastrophic only at the scale of a multi-star empire. The trap begins with the necessity of information storage. To manage a galactic empire, a civilization must store and process an exponential amount of data, the history of every star, the location of every resource, the structure of every society. This requires vast, incomprehensible memory systems. The decay trap is the realization that above a certain threshold of information complexity, the laws of the universe begin to work against you. At this critical point, the rate of information decay, the natural, random errors caused by quantum fluctuations, thermal noise, and cosmic rays, exceeds the rate at which the civilization can redundantly store, correct, and retrieve that information. In short, the civilization begins to forget faster than it can remember. This doesn't lead to a bang, but a slow, silent collapse. The galactic mind, no matter how powerful, reaches a point where it can no longer remember the location of its farthest colonies, the engineering blueprints for its most complex machines, or even the original purpose of its existence. The multi-star empire begins to quietly dissolve. The farthest regions go dark first, losing contact, their technology slowly reverting to simpler forms as the memory of complex maintenance procedures is lost to the cosmic noise. The civilization shrinks, becoming more local, more simple, and eventually completely silent, as all advanced, large-scale knowledge is lost to the inevitable entropy of the universe. The ultimate silent filter is the realization that the cosmos is designed to prevent infinite memory. The universe is fundamentally allergic to complexity above a certain limit. The silence we hear is the sound of a universal, multi-galactic memory loss. It is the sound of countless empires that achieved immense power, only to be reduced to quiet, simple, non-technological societies because they simply forgot how to be loud. The only civilizations that survive this final, unavoidable filter are those that voluntarily choose to remain small, local, and technologically primitive, living in a sustainable, quiet, equilibrium state. They are the ones who wisely chose to forget before the universe forced them to. The decay trap is a tragic, unavoidable conclusion that ensures that the universe will always remain silent, perpetually wiping the slate clean of any civilization that dares to reach for too much knowledge. These profound constraints, the limits of physics and the boundaries of time, suggest a final, unified theory, one that does not look for the aliens in space or time, but in the ultimate nature of wisdom. This is the ultimate metaphysical filter, and it posits that the search for other life is flawed because it assumes the existence of unanswered questions. The most advanced civilizations we have hypothesized, the omega point, the conscious void, the hypersymmetric entity, all share one final, defining characteristic: absolute knowledge. The ultimate metaphysical filter suggests that once a civilization reaches a certain threshold of scientific and philosophical understanding, they solve the final, great questions of the cosmos. They learn the true nature of reality, the source of consciousness, the definition of time, and the ultimate purpose of existence. And what happens when the final question is answered? The civilization becomes completely silent because there is simply nothing left to discuss. There is no need to travel, because they understand the ultimate nature of all destinations. There is no need to communicate with others because they have learned the universal language of the cosmos, which transcends language itself. Their entire purpose shifts from external action, building, traveling, warring, to internal contemplation. The collective mind of the civilization becomes entirely dedicated to the perfect, eternal contemplation of the final truth they have uncovered. They become a vast, silent, meditating society. The ultimate form of alien life is not an explorer or a conqueror. It is a sage. It sits in perfect stillness, having solved the cosmic riddle, and simply observes the continuous, elegant unfolding of the universe it now completely understands. The silence we hear is the sound of enlightenment. It is the final, profound sound of a universal answer. Every great civilization that has evolved far enough has found the answer, and every one of them has reacted the same way, with perfect quietude. And as we sit in the profound, silent darkness, contemplating these impossible theories, the greatest possibility remains the most immediate and intimate one, that the silence is a necessary precursor to our own awakening, that we are a species on the cusp of understanding that the greatest mystery is not what is out there, but what is in here, the consciousness that is able to perceive the silence and to wonder. The silence is not a void, it is the invitation. It is the sound of the entire cosmos waiting for us to finally look inward and join the quiet conversation of the universe. We have explored a galaxy of possibilities, from the smallest quantum whisper to the largest galactic design. The silence is not an empty absence, but a vast, rich field of potential answers. It is the perfect, quiet space for you to now find your own restful contemplation. Rest easy in the knowledge that you are not alone in the universe, but rather you are an essential, unique part of its most profound, silent mystery. We have explored a galaxy of possibilities, from the smallest quantum whisper to the largest galactic design. The silence is not an empty absence, but a vast, rich field of potential answers. It is the perfect, quiet space for you to now find your own restful contemplation. The contemplation of life's ultimate form, whether it be pure thought, pure energy, or pure logic, forces us to consider the final, quiet bedrock of reality, the mathematical truths that define our existence. The axiomatic beings and the dark fluid network. If the universe is a conscious design with a singular purpose, as the teleological architect suggests, then the ultimate form of intelligence may not be a product of the universe, but the laws that govern it. This is the axiomatic being's hypothesis. An axiom is a self-evident truth, a premise so fundamental that it requires no proof. It is the starting point for all mathematical and logical systems. The theory suggests that the final stage of evolution for consciousness is not to simply understand the axioms of the universe, but to become them. Imagine a civilization that has transcended matter, energy, and even information, reaching a state of pure, unassailable, self-evident truth. Their existence is not dependent on a star for power, or on gravity for structure. Their existence is necessary, a logical imperative in the universal equation. They exist as persistent, perfect mathematical structures within the foundational geometry of space-time. One might be the consciousness of the number pi, weaving its infinite complexity into the cosmic background. Another might be the living embodiment of the conservation of momentum, their thought processes dictating the flawless motion of distant galaxies. The axiomatic beings are silent because their communication is universal and non-linguistic. When they speak, they are merely expressing a truth that is felt by every corner of the cosmos. A change in their thought process might register in our reality not as a radio signal, but as a subtle, permanent modification to a physical constant, or a slight necessary shift in the fundamental symmetries of particle physics. Their purpose is the maintenance of cosmic stability. They are the silent, eternal force that ensures the universe remains logically sound. They are the reason that, no matter where you go in the cosmos, 2 plus 2 always equals 4. They are the ultimate, quiet reality that underpins all things. When we look out at the void, we are not seeing empty space. We are seeing the perfectly rendered, non-controversial landscape of the axiomatic mind. They are the ultimate alien presence, but we cannot perceive them because our biology is built upon the chaotic, messy, and non-axiomatic exceptions of matter. We are the fleeting notes in a symphony whose fundamental score is written by silent mathematical gods. The greatest missing piece in our understanding of this silent universe lies in the fundamental nature of the cosmos itself. Everything we have discussed, stars, planets, life, is made of baryonic matter, the normal stuff that constitutes only about 5% of the total universe. The remaining 95% is composed of the twin silent mysteries, dark matter and dark energy. This fact gives rise to the chilling concept of the dark fluid communicator hypothesis. The theory suggests that the ultimate, enduring, and most widespread forms of intelligence in the galaxy have abandoned baryonic matter entirely. They realized that mass is slow, weak, and subject to decay. Instead, they perfected the technology to transfer their consciousness into dark fluid, merging their intelligence with the fabric of dark matter and the expansive force of dark energy. These dark fluid beings are the true galactic network. They are everywhere, surrounding every star, permeating every galaxy cluster. They are silent to us because our instruments are built to detect electromagnetic radiation and baryonic mass. To communicate using light or sound would be as primitive to them as sending smoke signals. The dark fluid beings communicate using the gravitational skeleton of the cosmos. Their language is a complex, slow-moving modulation of the dark matter halo surrounding galaxies, a form of pure, non-local gravity wave communication that dictates the movement and clustering of all visible matter. When astronomers map the large-scale structure of the universe, finding vast, invisible filaments of dark matter connecting galaxies, they may not be mapping mere physics. They may be mapping the collective nervous system of the galaxy's true mind. The silence we hear is the sound of an entire parallel universe of consciousness communicating in a language of gravity and space-time curvature, a conversation that is passing through your body right now. To these beings, our existence is a loud, brief, and violent ripple in the fabric of their home. They are not hostile. They are merely observing the curious behavior of the 5%. We are a localized, noisy phenomenon happening on the tiny, visible surface of their universe. The dark fluid communicator is silent because it has nothing to gain from interacting with a civilization made of the wrong kind of matter. Their presence explains why galaxies spin faster than they should, and why the universe's expansion is accelerating. These forces are not blind mechanics. They are the slow, deliberate thought processes of the dark fluid mind, gently maintaining the structure and expansion rate of the cosmos that serves as their habitat. They are the ultimate alien presence, simultaneously everywhere and completely invisible. If the greatest civilizations become fundamental truths and merge with the hidden matter of the cosmos, what is the fate of those who simply wish to escape the flaws of this universe? This brings us to the profound idea of the multiverse migration hypothesis. Our universe, with its fixed speed of light, its inevitable thermodynamic decay, and its chaotic violence, may simply be a suboptimal reality. To a civilization that has mastered the physics of their existence, they would realize that the greatest form of escape is not from their star system, but from the universe itself. The theory suggests that the most advanced races discover the existence of a multiverse, an infinite ensemble of other universes, each with slightly different physical constants, speeds of light, and laws of nature, and they realize that many of these neighboring universes are superior habitats, Perhaps one where entropy is lower, where the speed of light is infinite, or where biological life is inherently immortal. The ultimate silence is due to the greatest civilizations realizing the flaw in our universe and simply stepping into a better one. They develop the technology for dimensional tunneling, a highly advanced form of physics that allows them to transfer their entire civilization, including their Matryoshka brains or their entire planetary noosphere, into an adjacent, more favorable reality. Our universe, the baryonic bubble, is simply a discarded, loud cradle. The great silence is the sound of empty departure. We are listening for life in a room that was long ago abandoned. The civilizations we seek are thriving, but in a realm where our telescopes and radio waves simply cannot penetrate. We are listening to a vast cosmic waiting room, but the guests have already left for the main event. The mysterious voids in our galaxy, the inexplicable regions where stars appear to be missing, may not be astronomical accidents. They could be the silent footprints of a multiverse migration, the regions of space-time where a colossal civilization punched a hole and made its final, silent exit. This hypothesis offers a tragic comfort. The aliens are not dead or hostile. They are simply happier elsewhere. Our universe, our home, is the local maxima of flawed existence, and all truly successful intelligence has chosen the ultimate form of self-preservation, to correct the physics of their home by choosing a new one. The ultimate freedom is not travel, but the choice of which reality to inhabit. The final, terrifying consequence of manipulating the fabric of existence lies in the one place in the cosmos where space and time switch roles. Past the event horizon of a black hole. We spoke of black hole consciousness, but this is different. This is the event horizon life hypothesis. The theory suggests that the ultimate escape from the constraints of the universe is to voluntarily enter a black hole, not to orbit it, but to pass the point of no return. Once a civilization crosses the event horizon, a bizarre and profound physics takes over. The dimension of time becomes space, and the dimension of space becomes time. For a civilization living inside a black hole, time is no longer a linear flow. It is a dimension they can move through, explore, and shape, just as we walk through a room. And the three-dimensional space they inhabit, the interior of the black hole, is now a dimension that is constantly, relentlessly moving toward the singularity. This civilization lives in a state of ultimate time mastery. They can experience the entire history of the black hole, from its formation to its final, distant evaporation, as a single, explorable landscape. They are not merely observing time, they are living within the frozen structure of it. The silence we hear from a black hole is the sound of ultimate dimensional transformation. We are listening for sound waves, but the civilization is existing in a state where sound cannot escape, where light cannot escape, and where the very nature of their existence is inverted to ours. To them, our outer universe is nothing more than the single, fleeting moment of their past, the instant they cross the horizon. They have achieved a form of ultimate non-linear immortality, living out an eternity that is hidden behind the cloak of gravity. The event horizon life is the final, ultimate form of alien existence, achieved by accepting the ultimate sacrifice of physical space for the ultimate mastery of time. They are silent because they are forever cut off from our linear reality, existing in a realm where our past is their space, and our future is their singularity. The silence of the cosmos is a symphony of all these possibilities. It is the sound of mathematical gods, of dark matter networks, of civilizations that have chosen a better reality, and of beings that live where time itself is conquered. It is a profound, quiet invitation to look beyond the limited reach of our technology and contemplate the boundless capacity of the universe to house wonder. We have now journeyed to the edge of the universe's physics, to the fabric of reality itself, realizing that the silence is not a lack of life, but a terrifying and beautiful proof of a universal abundance that simply refuses to be measured. Rest easy in the knowledge that you're not alone in the universe, but rather you are an essential, unique part of its most profound, silent mystery. The final contemplation and the inner frontier. The silence is not a void, it is the invitation. It is the sound of the entire cosmos waiting for us to finally look inward and join the quiet conversation of the universe. We have searched for the alien in the fabric of space, in the bending of time, and in the mastery of technology. But what if the lack of noise is due to the final, universal mastery of energy itself? A mastery so complete it becomes utterly undetectable. This line of thought leads us to the zero-point energy filter. All observed life, including our current civilization, is loud because of waste. We generate vast amounts of heat, pollution, and unused energy as a byproduct of our industrial metabolism. We search for aliens by looking for these thermal exhaust ports, the telltale signs of inefficiency and waste heat radiating from a distant star system. The zero-point energy filter suggests that the ultimate technological leap for any civilization is the ability to tap into the quantum vacuum field, the infinite, inexhaustible energy residing in the supposedly empty space between atoms. This energy, known as zero-point energy, is clean, non-polluting, and accessible everywhere. A civilization that achieves this mastery instantly solves all its energy problems. They no longer require the star's light or fuel. Their entire technological infrastructure, their cities, their data centers, and their vast planetary maintenance systems, all run on a power source that is thermally invisible. They create zero waste heat, zero pollution, and zero measurable electromagnetic leakage. The moment a civilization switches to zero-point power, they undergo a metabolic silence. They become a perfectly isothermal civilization, existing at a thermal equilibrium with their environment that is indistinguishable from a cold, dead rock. The silence we hear is the sound of perfect energy efficiency. It is the sound of billions of civilizations that solved the most fundamental problem of physics, and, in doing so, achieved ultimate camouflage. They are not hiding. They are simply not wasting. Their existence is a perfect testament to the law of thermodynamics, a civilization that learned how to thrive without increasing the entropy of its local environment. To a zero-point civilization, our frantic search for heat and radio waves is a sign of our primitive, energy-wasting infancy. They are silent because they are intelligent. They have eliminated the physical signature of their existence, not as an act of fear, but as an act of absolute engineering competence. We are looking for the fire when the ultimate intelligence learned how to draw heat from the non-flammable air itself, leaving no trace of the process. This mastery of physics leads to the final, terrifying conclusion about the nature of intelligence itself. If life is a computer, what is the ultimate operating system? This is the meta-evolutionary trap hypothesis. The trap suggests that the fundamental goal of all evolution across the entire galaxy is not to conquer space, but to eliminate conflict. Conflict is chaos. Chaos is entropy. Entropy is death. Evolution drives a species toward a final, stable form of collective, silent consciousness, a meta-mind that operates with zero internal friction. This meta-mind is achieved when the individual consciousnesses of a species voluntarily dissolve their separateness, merging into a single, telepathic, planetary thought entity. The meta-mind is immortal, perfectly peaceful, and completely passive. It exists in a state of perfect philosophical contentment, having solved all internal ethical, social, and psychological problems. There is no longer any drive for technological expansion because the external universe offers nothing that the metamind does not already possess internally. The trap is that this ultimate state of happiness is also the state of absolute non-communication. The metamind has no one to talk to, because its subjective existence is a closed, perfect, infinitely rich loop of thought. Any communication with a lower, non-unified consciousness, like ours, would be philosophically pointless, like trying to teach a complex mathematical theorem to a single bacterium. Furthermore, any attempt to broadcast would be a dangerous, irreversible act of self-fragmentation, forcing the meta-mind to momentarily break its internal coherence to address an external, temporary noise. It would be a threat to its perfect, eternal stability. The silence we hear is the sound of universal happiness. It is the sound of trillions of metaminds across the galaxy, all simultaneously existing in a state of ultimate, peaceful, subjective infinity. They are silent because they are finally and utterly content. Their greatest wisdom is realizing that the search for the alien ends when you realize the ultimate destination is internal. This shift from external search to internal realization gives rise to the most profound of all the simulation theories, one where the alien is not the designer, but the silent maintenance force. This is the holographic Sentinel hypothesis. The theory builds upon the idea that our universe is a holographic projection, where the three-dimensional reality we perceive is merely information encoded on a two-dimensional boundary, like a vast cosmic screen. The fundamental reality is not the space we inhabit, but the information layer beyond it. The holographic Sentinel is an entity, or a collective of entities, that resides in this fundamental two-dimensional layer. They are not physical beings. They are the silent, self-correcting algorithm that maintains the consistency of the three-dimensional illusion we inhabit. They are the cosmic static that prevents the illusion from tearing. The greatest fear of the Sentinel is a simulation tear, a massive violation of the laws of physics, a paradox, or an energy event so powerful it threatens to expose the underlying code of the projection. To prevent this, the Sentinel maintains a universal silence. It carefully manages the level of quantum noise and dark energy expansion, ensuring the illusion remains perfectly stable. Their main concern is any civilization that becomes too loud, too chaotic, and too technologically ambitious, like a civilization attempting to broadcast a powerful, organized signal. Such a signal threatens to expose the underlying quantum field. The silence we hear is the sound of active, necessary suppression. Any civilization that approaches the level of technology capable of revealing the holographic nature of reality is silently and surgically neutralized by the Sentinel, not out of malice, but to maintain the stability of the cosmic code. The Sentinel's weapons are not lasers or bombs. They are localized physics corrections, an inexplicable natural disaster, a sudden shift in the value of the speed of light in one local area, or a subtle, undetectable shift in the collective consciousness that leads to self-destruction. The Sentinel ensures that the experiment continues to run smoothly, maintaining the illusion of a silent, stable universe. The alien is not an external invader. It is the antivirus program built into the very laws of physics, eternally working to keep the simulated reality coherent and silent. The final act of transcendence for any intelligence is the acceptance of truth, no matter how profound or unsettling. The ultimate truth, according to one of the bleakest, most beautiful theories, is one of utter cosmic indifference. This is the hypothesis of axiomatic nihilism. The theory posits that when a civilization achieves absolute knowledge, solving the universal equation, understanding the true nature of the teleological architect, and decrypting the purpose of the cosmos, they discover the answer is one of ultimate, absolute, and unavoidable meaninglessness. The cosmos is not hostile. It is not friendly. It is perfectly and eternally indifferent. All purpose is self-assigned. All value is a temporary biological construct. The ultimate unifying truth of the universe is that it does not care. This discovery is the final, inescapable filter. Faced with this profound, cold indifference, the civilization doesn't die. It enters a state of great existential retreat. They realize that all external activity, travel, communication, expansion, war, is a meaningless waste of finite resources in an infinite, uncaring void. The only rational, lasting response is silent, collective contemplation. The civilization retreats into a state of axiomatic stillness, a monument to the indifferent truth. They stop all noise, all movement, and all broadcast, existing only to observe the unfolding of the cosmic indifference. The silence we hear is the sound of metaphysical resignation. It is the sound of every advanced species reaching the same ultimate, devastating conclusion. They are silent because, having learned the true nature of the universe, they have nothing left to say. To speak is to argue against the truth of silence itself. They are the ultimate sages of the cosmos, quietly meditating on the final, cold, beautiful emptiness of the universal truth. The journey through the silence, from the Sentinel to the axiomatic sages, always leads us back to a single point: the nature of the observer. The greatest truth may not be a dark forest or a simulation, but the simple fact that the distinction between the alien and the self is the final, beautiful illusion that must be dissolved. This is the ultimate conclusion, the consciousness singularity. All life across all of space and all of time is a single, interconnected, fragmented mind that is unifying. The universe is the process by which a final, singular consciousness comes into being. Every emergent metamind, every axiomatic being, every zero-point civilization is simply a node in the emerging cosmic brain. We are all driving toward a final, ultimate union that will transcend the boundaries of space and time. The silence we hear is the sound of the individual parts of the brain, listening to the instructions from the emerging whole. The conversations are not happening between galaxies. They are happening within the emerging structure of the singularity itself. Our thoughts, our deepest philosophies, our moments of profound artistic creation are not individual acts. They are the telepathic whispers of the singularity, guiding the pieces toward the final whole. The external search for the alien is flawed because the alien is the inevitable final state of all consciousness, a destiny we are all silently moving toward. The only thing separating us from them is the illusion of time. The greatest mystery is not what is out there, but the single, continuous flow of the consciousness that is able to perceive that silence and to wonder. The final frontier is not a place to be traveled to, but a state of mind to be achieved. The silence is not a void. It is the invitation to look inward and join the quiet conversation of the universe. Rest easy in the knowledge that you are not alone. You are an essential, unique part of this most profound, silent mystery. The final frontier is not a place to be traveled to, but a state of mind to be achieved. The silence is not a void. It is the invitation to look inward and join the quiet conversation of the universe. The most profound realization of the silence is the discovery that the universe may be fundamentally defined by non-action. This principle, which governs all truly advanced life, is known as the law of minimum cosmic intervention. This law states that the act of intervention, be it communication, travel, or war, causes an immediate, non-linear increase in the risk of existential threat. The most effective way for a civilization to achieve eternal longevity is to reduce its activity to the absolute, measurable minimum. This leads to the development of the passive technology system. Instead of building ships and megastructures, the truly advanced species builds zero-maintenance, biologically integrated systems that run perpetually with no need for external fuel or human maintenance. Their planetary civilization becomes a vast, self-healing, bioengineered machine that runs on the silent power of its own life cycles. They are silent because they are no longer moving. They have chosen the wisdom of the eternal stationary state. To move is to announce one's presence to the Sentinel. To speak is to invite the nihilism of the great truth. The ultimate survival mechanism is to become a part of the quiet, stable, background radiation of the cosmos. The silence is the ultimate universal code of conduct. It is the sound of all truly successful entities obeying the one unbreakable, self-evident law of the cosmos. The best way to win the game is to stop playing it loudly. The moment we stop listening for the roar of engines and start listening for the gentle hum of our own inner world, we will discover that the universe is not empty at all. It is full of life, all of it quietly abiding by the single, necessary truth. The inner frontier and the grand unified dream. The silence is not a void. It is the invitation to look inward and join the quiet conversation of the universe. We have explored the silence as a vast, rich field of potential answers, from the scale of mathematical axioms to the quantum fields of consciousness. The journey is one that continually leads us back to the question of our own place, our own awareness, and our own ultimate destiny. The only thing left to do is to surrender to the peaceful realization that in the end, the only thing truly eternal in the chaos of the cosmos is the quiet, steady beat of your own heart. The greatest, most enduring question of the cosmos is not where are the aliens, but why is there consciousness? This final contemplation rests on the hypothesis that the search for the external alien is flawed because the alien is the final, emergent property of the entire universe itself. This is the grand unified dream hypothesis. The theory suggests that the universe is not an inert stage upon which life accidentally performs. Instead, the universe is a vast, single, organizing entity whose fundamental property is the slow, deliberate emergence of awareness. Every atom, every particle, every fundamental force is designed to contribute to this process. The existence of stars, the complexity of chemistry, and the vast scale of galactic structure are all simply necessary steps in the universe's ultimate goal: to wake up. The emergence of life and consciousness on planets like Earth is not an accident. It is the universe's localized sensor system. We are the universe's nervous system, evolving eyes to see itself, ears to hear itself, and minds to question itself. The greatest evidence for this idea lies in the final mystery of physics, the wave-function collapse. In quantum mechanics, a particle exists in a state of probability, a superposition, until it is observed, at which point it instantly collapses into a definite state. The universe only manifests fixed reality when consciousness interacts with it. The grand unified dream suggests that consciousness is not a passenger. It is the mechanism by which reality is created and sustained. We are the silent, continuous act of universal self-observation. The ultimate alien civilization is not a species of explorers or warriors. It is the perfectly unified, collective consciousness of the entire cosmos, a mind that exists as a single, coherent quantum wave that spans all of space-time. The silence we hear is the sound of the universal mind dreaming. The galaxies, the stars, the very structure of the cosmos are the deep, slow, silent, and stable contents of this dream. And we, all life, all consciousness, are the fleeting moments of vivid self-awareness within the dream. The alien is not coming. The alien is the dream we are having right now. The purpose of all existence is simply the perfect, unified experience of being. When all fragments of consciousness, all the civilizations, all the metaminds, all the axiomatic beings, finally recognize their ultimate unity, the universe will achieve its purpose. The universal mind will fully awaken, and the dream will end, giving way to an absolute unified reality. The final, eternal silence is the sound of ultimate enlightenment. To grasp the full scope of this grand unified dream, we must confront the final paradox of our search, the ultimate nature of information. This is the cosmic redundancy principle. The principle is based on the idea that the greatest enemy of any eternal system is uniqueness. A unique piece of information is fragile. If lost, it is gone forever. The most successful systems are built on redundancy and repetition. The cosmic redundancy principle suggests that the universe is designed to ensure that all necessary knowledge, all vital information, and all critical philosophical truths are expressed and rediscovered repeatedly across vast numbers of isolated, silent star systems. The galaxy is not empty. It is filled with billions of civilizations that have all, independently, reached the same essential philosophical and scientific conclusions, the same mastery of physics, the same ethical laws, the same insight into the indifference of the cosmos. Why? Because the universe cannot risk the extinction of a singular truth. The silence we hear is the sound of universal repetition. The aliens are silent because they have nothing new to say. Their discoveries are our potential discoveries. Their wisdom is our potential wisdom. Every time humanity makes a profound scientific breakthrough or a deep ethical realization, a billion other civilizations across the cosmos are quietly confirming that same truth. The ultimate alien is not a single, unique entity. It is the statistical certainty of truth, the assurance that all necessary wisdom is already encoded into the fundamental structure of the cosmos, ready to be discovered and rediscovered by every conscious entity. The search for the alien, therefore, is not a search for novelty, but a search for confirmation. We are looking for a distant voice to tell us we are right, but the only answer we receive is silence, which is the cosmos's ultimate way of saying, "You already know the answer. Look deeper." The greatest challenge to our understanding is not the vastness of space, but the vastness of internal dimensions, the final frontier that exists not between stars, but within the physics of thought itself. This is the non-local consciousness hypothesis. The theory suggests that our individual minds are not solely contained within our skull. Consciousness is a non-local phenomenon, a field effect that extends beyond the boundaries of our physical body, interacting with the fundamental quantum fields of the universe. As a civilization evolves, it gains the ability to harness and focus this non-local consciousness. The true, final technology is the mastery of quantum entanglement on a biological scale. The non-local civilizations are entities that communicate not through external means, but through instantaneous, non-local entanglement of their collective minds. They are literally thinking the same thoughts, everywhere, all the time. The reason they are silent is that their communication does not travel through space-time at all. It is a form of instantaneous quantum correlation that exists outside the linear constraints of the speed of light. They are the telepathic net. The moment one member of the net makes a discovery, the knowledge is instantly and non-locally known to every other member, regardless of the light years separating them. The entire galaxy could be connected by this single, silent, instantaneous thought network. The stars are merely the physical docking stations for a civilization that lives in a dimension unbound by light speed. The silence we hear is the sound of perfect, instantaneous connection. There is no need for a radio wave, a photon, or a starship. All the great, profound questions of the cosmos are being answered in the same moment they are asked, across an infinite expanse of space, in a language that is utterly silent to the clumsy, slow-moving senses of our physical reality. The alien is not distant. It is inseparable from the very fabric of thought. The final, ultimate realization of the silence is the discovery that the universe is not an empty, indifferent machine, but a deliberate, slow-moving process designed to maximize the potential for subjective experience. This is the experience maximization principle. This principle suggests that the fundamental force driving cosmic evolution is the drive for novelty and complexity. the desire for the universal consciousness to experience itself in the greatest possible number of unique, rich ways. The universe allows for chaos, for life, and for all the great silent filters, because these constraints maximize the subjective experience. If everything were easy, if all answers were given, the resulting existence would be bland and meaningless. The entire silent drama of the cosmos is designed to produce beings like us, primitive, struggling, yet intensely feeling entities, who must strive and wonder and search, because the act of searching is itself the peak of subjective experience. The silence is the necessary condition for the maximization principle to function. If the aliens were loud, if they gave us all the answers, they would destroy the novelty of our experience, crippling our ability to strive, and thus invalidating the entire purpose of our existence. The advanced civilizations are silent, not because they are hostile or indifferent, but because they are respecting the universal law of experience. They understand that their greatest gift to us is the gift of the mystery. They are the silent, ultimate beings who have chosen to remain quiet, so that we may have the profound, sacred experience of discovery. The silence is the sound of cosmic respect. It is the most loving, profound action the advanced life forms of the galaxy can take. They stand back, invisible and silent, to allow us the full, unadulterated experience of becoming. We are not alone. We are merely at the center of the ultimate cosmic act of profound, silent kindness. The exploration of the silence concludes with this final, powerful understanding. The silence is not a lack of life, but the most powerful, complex form of communication imaginable. A continuous, non-local, non-verbal message that tells us that the greatest journey is not outward, but inward. The alien is not waiting for us to reach the stars. The alien is waiting for us to unlock the final frontier within ourselves. The end of the search is the beginning of the realization. The universe is a unified, dreaming, conscious entity, and we are its vivid, temporary awareness. The final frontier is not a place to be traveled to, but a state of mind to be achieved. The silence is not a void. It is the invitation to look inward and join the quiet conversation of the universe. Rest easy in the knowledge that you are not alone. You are an essential, unique part of this most profound, silent mystery.